Hey guys, so we're going to try to get this in one shot, which means I'll be switching papers throughout and adding a couple of things. So what I want you to do is after I add these, go ahead and pause the video and make your paper look like my paper. This takes up about the first half of a piece of paper. We're going to fill in the rest of this. Hopefully you already paused it and copied it. We're going to fill the rest of this in as we go throughout the unit. And there will be other videos that show you how to do this. But for today, we're just going to go through the very first type of equation that we're going to learn for stoichiometry, which is grams to grams. Now the important part is that you start grams to grams, or any stoichiometry, with a balanced equation, which we have right here. And if you read our problem, we have 155 grams of potassium, and they're going to be equal to, and we don't know this amount, it's our unknown amount, grams of potassium chloride. So this thing right here is our map. It tells us exactly where to go and how many stops we're going to need to make on the way there. And it also tells us what the name of the places we're going to stop at are. So the first thing you're going to do is figure out where you're going to and where you're going from. So we're coming from here and we're going to here. So on our map, we're going to go from grams to grams. Our known formula is the one that's with our known amount. So that's potassium. So over here, we're talking about potassium. And then our unknown formula is the one that's with our unknown unit, which is potassium chloride. So that goes all the way over here. All of these things are talking about potassium chloride. So we're going to use our finger, and I'm going to make you do this in class if you get lost, so you might as well do it along with me, even though you're going to feel kind of dumb. You're going to trace yourself from grams to grams, and every time you stop, every time you put it on one of the little stops on the way, you're going to count, and that's going to tell you how many boxes you need at the top of your dimensional analysis, so at your little train track. So we're going to go 1, so I'm going to start here, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So that tells me, I'm going to move this up a little bit, that tells me that I'm going to need 4 stops along my train track. So I need 4 boxes. That actually means you're going to draw 3 lines up and down. Please don't make these tiny. We're giving you a lot of space to do these equations on. Spread them out so that you have enough room so that you and I can both read them, and so that you're not having to squish all of your formulas together, because some of these formulas can get quite long. So from right now, all we're going to do is follow the exact same rules that we follow every time we do grams to moles. The first step is to put your known amount in your top left-hand box, which means right here we're going to put 155 grams of potassium. You're going to need to make sure that you use the grams of potassium. And just for a short reminder, this is your number, this is your unit, and this is your formula. So now we're going to put our unknown in our top right-hand box. Our top right-hand box on this is not right here. It's going to be all the way over here. So we're going to put our unknown unit and formula right here. You are not going to fill in any of the numbers until all of your boxes, except for the one that we leave blank, until all of your boxes have a unit and a formula in them. So now we're going to go along our map. We started at grams of the known unit, so we started here, and then we're going to come around this map, and we're going to get to moles. And this moles is still in our known formula. So in this second stop, we're going to put moles, and we're going to use our known formula, which is right here, and it's K. So we've stopped here, and now we're going to continue along our little path, and we're going to go across this little squiggly line. We're going to go all the way over here to moles, and this is in our unknown formula. So we know that in this box we're going to write moles, and we want to use our unknown formula. This is the formula we're going to use, and that's the reason it's very important to go ahead and write this thing, that's the second thing you write, because otherwise you're sitting over here not really knowing what goes right here. We're going to use this formula because it's our unknown formula. Now that heart I'm going to explain in a little bit, but for right now, just know that as soon as you write the mole where the heart is, you need to go ahead and put, this is going to look more like an apple, a heart, sad little heart, right where that is, and it goes in both of those boxes. It goes around both of those boxes. If you're not a heart drawer, draw an upside down triangle or an oval or, I don't know, any shape. Just make sure that it encompasses all of this. So the next step we're going to do is the same step you've been doing since September, and that is move your units and your formulas down and to the right. So all of these, well, not that one, all of these units and formulas are going to move down and to the right. So right here, I'm going to have grams of K. I'm going to move this moles of K right here. I'm going to move this moles of KCl right here. Now we're going to fill in, leaving the heart alone because we're going to come back to it. The other 4 boxes, you actually know what go in these boxes. You've already done this before. So if it's not the given and it's a mole, we would normally put a 1. So if it's not in the heart, remember we're coming back to that, and it's not the given, the moles are always going to be 1. If it's not the given and you have a gram, it's always the molar mass. The molar mass of potassium is 39.098, and the mass of potassium chloride is 74.551. Now we come to the heart. The heart is the reminder, because every other box you really know what goes in it. You've already done this, and you've done it for quite a while. The heart is the one that's different. And so we put a heart around it because we want to remind ourselves. It's kind of like an anchor point where we say, hey, I remember what we use for this. And what we use for this is that balanced equation. If you want to, you can put a little heart right here to remind yourself. So we're going to use that balanced equation. And the part we're going to use are those coefficients out in front of those balanced equations. So whenever I say moles of KCl and it's inside that heart, we're going to look at that coefficient that's in front of KCl. So this number right here is going to be a 2. When I have moles of K and it's inside that heart, I look up here and it's also going to be a 2. They will not always be the same number, so don't expect them to be. I'm going to multiply across the top. I'm going to multiply across the bottom and divide the top number by the bottom number. But for time's sake, I'm not going to show you how to do that. If you're struggling with the calculator, if you come to me, I will show you. And this one is going to be 36.44, I believe. Sorry, I had my answers, but I don't remember what it was. 295, I was wrong. 295.55. And for the unit, you're going to look right here. It's going to be the unit of your unknown, so it's going to be grams of potassium chloride. I'm going to put a box around that, just because this is math, so go ahead and put a box around it just like you would do in algebra. All right, I'm going to show you this one more time, and we're going to do it on the one, your packet. I'm going to cover just that, so you don't really need to see that. All right. If you read the question, it says, for this reaction, and there's your balanced equation, how many grams of hydrogen? And this is important because this is what kids struggle with, is not being able to read it and figure it out. It says how many grams of hydrogen. You need to write that, underline it so that you know what you're looking for. You know what it's asking for. It says how many grams of hydrogen are required to produce 145 grams of methane. So that's our given. And that CH4 behind it just tells you how to write methane. So if we're going grams to grams, remember we're going to go grams to grams, and it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to, please don't squish all this together. You have plenty of room. We're going to put our known amount in this top left-hand box. We're going to put that 145 grams of CH4 right here. Then we're going to go how many grams of hydrogen. Now, our inclination would be to just write an H. But what you need to do on all of this, especially if you come up to a formula where all they give you is the name, and you're not really sure of how you would write it, is you look back in this balanced equation. Ignoring the coefficients for right now, you're going to write the formula. So if you look right here, I have a 2 in the front, which I'm going to ignore. And then I have an H2. That H2 is my formula for this hydrogen. So whenever I'm asking for grams of hydrogen, I'm going to write that unknown right here, grams of H2. following our little map, I have grams of our known formula, which was that CH4. I'm going to go down to moles using our known formula, so our next box is moles of CH4. Then I'm going to go across the squiggle line, meaning I'm going to change formulas now, and I'm going to go to moles of our unknown formula, which is that H2. So this right here is moles of H2. Remember, go ahead and put your heart there, because I'm going to insist that you have it every time. Really, it keeps you from getting confused. While I know it seems like an extra step, it actually is an important one. So after you filled in your top level, go ahead and carry down your units and your formulas. So I have grams of CH4, moles from right here of CH4, moles of H2. And let's start filling in. Remember, if it's not in the heart and it's a mole, it's going to be a 1. If it's not your given and it's a gram, it's your molar mass. So for hydrogen, it's 2.016. And for methane, it's 16.043. And we're going to look right here, and you're going to look back up at this balanced equation it gave you. And most of them will be balanced. If they have a number in the coefficients anywhere, you know that it's balanced. So in front of the H2, I have a 2 right there, so I'm going to put that right there. And my moles of CH4, in front of my CH4, there's not a number, which we know in chemistry means 1. You're going to multiply straight across the top, straight across the bottom, and divide the top by the bottom. And this one, I happen to know, is 36.44. And you use the unknowns formula and units. So it's 36.44 grams of H2, and I put a box around it. All right, you're going to go ahead and complete this worksheet and ask questions if you need to, especially if you're sitting next to a partner that seems to get it. Don't ask them what they have, but ask them if what you have is correct, especially if you're just checking yourself. And then if you need any help or if you want to check your answers, if you raise your hand, I'll let you know. Thanks.